Hello, everyone. My name is Chooks, and welcome to another Google Hangout with Students of Future. This is another opportunity to converse and talk about what's very important to us today, which is how do you introduce yourself and how do you project yourself out there in terms of a job interview, in terms of who you are and what you want to offer the world in terms of your profession. Like I said, my name is Chooks, and welcome to the Students of Future Network. I'm just gonna quickly do a run through of who's available today. I got a few emails saying some people not gonna be able to make it today, and all the same, we're just gonna have to go and just have a conversation all the same. Um, I want to say first of all, say thank you to everyone who's sent some feedback. I've got some really valuable feedback. I know this is a growing process, and as we keep growing, we're just going to ensure that um, we make changes as we can afford and to the best of our abilities. I just wanted to check with everyone, hoping that everyone had a really, really good weekend and there's been no problems in terms of your life and everything surrounding your well-being. All right, we're just gonna get into the hangout for today. And as much as I would love many people to be part of these sessions, we we can't guarantee that the timing for these hangouts would work for everyone. But we're just gonna ensure that we put out the word there and keep helping and developing people. My name is Chooks, and I am very passionate about continuous learning and growing. I feel and I know in my heart that one of my best talents or gifts or abilities is to be an instrument to help other people discover themselves and also promote connectedness between amongst young people, most especially being an example of what it is to live a fulfilling life and using the best of my abilities. Today we're going to be looking at intro. I've titled this "Introduce You," which is we're going to be looking at elevator pitch as well as what how we project ourselves out there as individuals. Just a quick run through about just hoping to get some feedback concerning our very first two sessions. I know we had a little bit of a flop last week, but this week I'm hoping everything is going very well. Um, as feedback, I would like to hear from each and every one of you what has changed in terms of what we've discussed over the past. I think it's 4 months now. We've had two fortnightly hangouts. The first was talking about start from where you are, and the other one was embracing change, and that was looking at the change dimension, how we perceive change and how we embrace it. I'd like to know what's changed for you and what's still a challenge for you and in terms of starting from where you are moving to the next level. I got a feedback that I should smile more. I'm hoping I'm doing a lot of smiling, and I'm very excited about this project. I know it's still not taking the shape that I've imagined, but I'm going to keep going until I find the right people, the right audience, and also the right support to take this to the next level. Like I said, I would like to know how you would like this to be and what you think we can do to improve and be better. Just a recap from the change dimension, we looked at understanding that change will happen to you with or without your permission. All you need to do is embrace it because that is an essential aspect of you growing and becoming a better person. In most cases, change is happening because there's something you're supposed to do at that stage. Maybe there's a lesson you're supposed to learn. It's up to you to take that on board and move to the next level. I'll do a run through of the recap at the end of the session, and you can look through the slides. And for the purpose of these hangouts today, I would want to focus on our topic for today, which is introduce you, looking at the elevator pitch, and also looking at what's in your resume. What should stand out in terms of your resume when you're applying for work. That's a small aspect of our professional development today. Now, a very, very important question I posted today in the Facebook group was: is there a difference between a personal introduction and an elevator pitch? And I think, though I didn't get any responses, I thought that was going to be a really, really good way to start the conversation today. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, I feel there's a difference. Now, a personal introduction should be something pretty short. Now, I look at it as something as fitting the situation you're in. If you go to a network event or wherever you are, or you meet a friend, a new person, the simple thing in a personal introduction is just to say what your name is, and that's that. I think that's about it. Now, an elevator pitch is mostly for selling purposes in terms of identifying who you are, what your skills are, and what you can offer in terms of maybe the business, in terms of the career you're hoping to start. Now, for the purposes of this discussion or this webinar, like I'm going to put it, I'm going to just go with my slides. My slides I've done what in my slides I've got personal introduction versus elevator pitch. Now, in my opinion, I feel that a personal introduction should be about 10 seconds. It should just basically be saying, my name is Chukudi, my name is Jukes, my name is Jerry, or whatever it is your name is, and any other small information you need to offer the person, that's fine. But the elevator pitch can go as big as longer as 30 seconds. And just letting you know that the personal introduction is not for selling purposes, but the elevator pitch is actually to sell yourself, to sell your ability, to sell your business, to sell your products, to sell your services, whatever it is. That's what the elevator pitch is. I always say that it's better to keep your personal introduction simple. So simplicity is really good in terms of personal introduction. But when it comes to your elevator pitch, be as creative as possible. That's very important because there are various ways of doing an elevator pitch, but I'll walk you through what I feel are the best ways of going about it, and it's up to you to be as creative as possible. You can tweak it, and you can also have many variations of it as you go. Now, it's very important that we do not confuse a personal introduction with the elevator pitch. Now, the former is a means of identifying yourself, and the other one is just a micro sales presentation. How do you sell yourself in, if it's an interview, in a job interview, how do you sell yourself in terms of what you are, what your skills are, what your gifts are, what your talents are, what you can offer the clients, the business, the company, or whatever position you find yourself. um, in my, what would I call it? In the, what I'll call a trailer or a reminder for this, I was also looking at how people immerse themselves in who they are, in the identity in terms of a profession. It's always important that you separate those two things. You know who you are, because now I'll give you an example. So a few people tend to be so focused on who they are in terms of their career, in terms of how much money they have, and in terms of their relationship. Now, it's very important that you do not immerse yourself in these identities, so that if should a circumstance occur where these identities are taken away from you, you do not lose yourself. You've heard of people who say, okay, once they lose a job, they feel like they want to kill themselves. If they lose a partner, they feel like they want to kill themselves, something like that. It's because they've immersed the whole of the identity in that. Now, I can imagine if you have the right skills, even if those jobs leave and you know who you are, you're still able to start all over and present yourself, and also provide new opportunities for yourself. Like we said in the last webinar or the Hangout, embracing change. That could be an opportunity to change. And because you haven't immersed yourself in that identity, which is your profession, your relationship, or whatever it is, you're able to move forward. Now, today we're going to look at the elevator pitch. I just gave you a little bit of a summary of what we're going to be talking about, which is how you introduce yourself, and trying to differentiate that with an elevator pitch. Now, the fear of introductions, in my opinion, I don't want to say that this is 100%. Now, my opinion of fear when it comes to introducing yourself it is linked to the fear of belonging, of the fear of not being good enough. Last week we looked at the three fears, which is the fear of not being loved, the fear of not belonging, and the fear of not being enough. I feel that one of the biggest fears around people not wanting to, on being nervous about introductions, is the fear of not being enough and the fear of not belonging. Now, if I always say that I've observed this in most of the events I have walked into, maybe at a networking event, a social gathering. Now, there are basically two people you see in a crowd, and maybe you see it in, I don't know. I don't know if it's 100%, but I've noticed this is my own research. There are basically two people you see in a crowd when you walk into a crowd or an event or whatever it is. You find what I call the leader. The leader is a person who walks up to people and introduces himself. He shakes hands, and he starts conversation automatically. In that case, he's like he's the person who is in charge of the room. He can talk to anyone. He can smile with anyone. He can start a conversation. In most cases, he'll also overtake a conversation. Now, I call the other type of person a follower. A follower is a person who would walk into a room, observe the room, and spend time observing people, and would only speak when he's spoken to or has been introduced. Now, it's for you to decide who you are. Now, the purpose of making that demarcation for me is so that you can understand the idea behind behavioral flexibility. Being flexible means that you can move from being a leader to being a follower. Different situations call for this different attributes. You can choose as a person to say, okay, for this situation, I'm going to be a follower. I want to observe people. It could be, if you, in that situation, it could be that you're just trying to observe how people operate before you introduce yourself. That's fine. There is no right or wrong way of doing it. But my point in this case is understand your environment before you go ahead and introduce yourself. If you feel that you're in a networking environment and you know the purpose for being there is to network, please take on the role of a leader. Walk up to people, have conversations, exchange cards, let them know what you do, and move forward. If you feel like you're there because you need to understand people, maybe you're the one who's supposed to give a presentation and you just want to observe people and find out what your crowd is. Um, it's like sourcing the crowd before you actually make your speech. It's up to you. The point is be behaviorally flexible. Okay. At this stage, I'm just gonna hop on the Facebook page and see if there's any questions or any responses going on there before we continue. All right, we don't have any responses at this stage, so we're just gonna keep going. Um, Now, I've got a few tips in terms of introductions, and this is my tips in terms of personal introduction. I may be wrong, and I would like to hear from other people what has happened over the years. Like I said, this purpose of these Student to Future Network is to be able to share our ideas. I would really love to be in a situation where other people are sharing their ideas and what's worked for them and what's not worked for them. My strategies may not work for you, and I would like to hear what has worked for you and how we can help each other find strategies that would work and propel us to the next level. Now, I always say that in terms of introductions, keep them simple. Less is always more. Identify your settings. If it's a baseball game, if it's a football game, you don't necessarily need to start telling people so much about yourself at that stage, except you're being asked. Now, what I mean is be aware of the setting, keep introductions in the context within that setting. Now, embrace understatement. Unless you are in a business setting, your job title is irrelevant. Don't go into a simple football match or something, or your parent teacher meeting or something, and just start divulging everything about you, even without being asked, that you could be perceived as a snob. Now, in that case, it's a simple introduction. My name is this, and the weather's due. Just go with the conversation in that setting. Don't be so focused on your job title. That is irrelevant at that stage. Now, mostly this would go to young people who have always approached me and said, how do I go about my networking? And I'm bringing this up because introductions are also important there. Now, in a networking scene, after you've introduced yourself and you want to go further, if the person has said what they do, you can tell them what they do. Preferably let the focus be on the other person. The best connections never come from speaking, they actually come from listening. If you can spend some time listening to what someone else has to say, you've actually won them. So I'm going to urge you to spend some time listening. Now we're going to get into the elevator pitch. I know that's what most people have asked me for and said they want to really hear. So I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to breathe, and I'm probably going to have to start with a question. Has anyone in the crowd ever posed or had the need for an elevator pitch? If you do, please let me know what your pitch is, because this is a very, very crucial aspect of life. Now, like I said earlier, there are several ways of putting together an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is unique to you and you alone. You can have several variations of an elevator pitch and for different circumstances. It's up to you to identify what it is for you. Now, I'll give you 3 tips in terms of elevator pitch. Demonstrate why you're different. People want to know what makes you different. It's very common for everyone to say the same thing when it comes to an interview or comes to a sales pitch. Now, what makes you different should always stand out. So identify what it is that makes you different. Like I tell my like I tell my students in class, use the DISC behavioral tool to identify who you are. You can also use the Myers-Briggs one as well. This also helps you identify what makes you unique. Now, over the course of your life, I always urge people to find out from their friends, what do you think about me? What do you think is my best qualities? Now, people will tell you what they think are your best qualities, and that is what you can use confidently in as part of your elevator pitch. So my very first tip is demonstrate why you're different. Find out what makes you different, what makes you unique. Now, for me, what makes me different or what makes me unique is I'm very passionate about continuous learning. I can spend my whole life learning and growing. So that's what makes me unique. I know that even if I never see anything as hard, I only see it as challenging until I master it and I move forward. So that's what makes me unique. I always embrace the learning and the change that comes with it. So that's my unique quality. I also know that I can get along with everybody, and at the same time, I still have to find time to be on my own. Okay, so now my second tip there is state what solutions you can provide. Give the listener a reason to care. This is because if you're going to go into a company now, this is for young people who want to find a job or whatever they want to do around the world. If you're going to find a job, or if you're going to interview for a job, it's always good to research the company so you can actually identify what it is you can offer them. People want to know what solution you can provide. Are you coming into the company to solve something? That's what makes you stand out. So identify with a statement what the solution you are there to provide, and give the listener a reason to care. If you're able to say, okay, I noticed over the years your company has produced blah blah dot 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 dot, but now I feel that with a person like me, I can bring dot 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 dot, and you're able to fill that blank space with a solution to that problem. The person is going to want to say, okay, I can schedule a meeting with you. I want to hear your ideas, and that is a reason. That is giving them a reason to care. Now, you can also leave the listener wanting more. And in that case, this is a tricky aspect. A few people say leave the listener wanting more. This means that you can ask them a question that they've never actually thought of. They could own a company, and you could ask them, okay, how do you manage this, or how do you intend to employ more individuals? I don't know. Just find something that you reckon that the organization hasn't thought about, and that would be a really, really good reason for them to employ you, because you've asked a question they've never asked. Now let's go ahead with my strategies for crafting your elevator pitch, and I'm hoping this has been resourceful so far. Now, the very first step in crafting your elevator pitch is to identify your goal or objective. Now, for different situations, like I said, you're going to need different elevator pitches. Identify what your goal or your objective is. Now, in case of a job or a profession, Clarify your job target. Now, not until you can clearly explain the type of position you want, nobody can help you find it or will hire you. You need to know what exactly you want to do. And I always tell this, you need to know what exactly, I tell this to my students rather, you need to know exactly what you want to do before someone can help you find that job or think about hiring you. So understand what is your objective, what's the reason behind my elevator pitch. Now, explain what you do as a person. Now, this involves focus on a problem in the organization and what you feel you as a person can offer the organization. If you have results in the past concerning that problem or a similar problem, it's always good that you bring that out. Now, what would you like your audience to remember most about you is very, very, very important. Now, before you go into it, this also would apply for personal introductions, is what would you like, or what effect, or what, how would you like to affect your audience at the end of that meeting? Now, my third step is put everything in a paper. Now, this would be when you've identified the objective, explain what you can do or what results you've done in the past. Put that in a paper. Now, in a paper, in the paper form, I want you to also communicate your best qualities, your skills, your strengths, your accomplishment, your work experience that are strictly relevant to the target position. Remember that the elevator pitch is a selling tool. It's not a reason for just any conversation. Is actually a selling tool. What makes you unique? So put that in a paper. Identify what your strengths are, what experiences you can bring to the organization that are specifically relevant to the target position. A few people say is the next one of the my steps is, which is the fourth one, which is engage with a question. It's up to you. Now, why I put that there, it's called engage with a question, is because some people feel that if you don't have a question that the organization has never asked, you're not thinking outside the box. But it's up to you. You can choose to engage with a question. You can ask them a question that they've never thought of. But like I said before, put it all together. And my best tip is practice, practice, practice. You need to keep saying your elevator pitch 100 times. 100, just keep practicing it so that when someone stops you and says, why do you want this job? Why should we give you this job? And then you can say, I come with so and so skills, and I know that I can solve the problem, so and so problem in your organization. This is my experience from blah 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 blah, and you're able to put it together. Once you're able to say it naturally, people know that you're very passionate about it. That's one of the easiest tests for passion. The last tip is in crafting your elevator pitch is make different variations of that elevator pitch. Have different variations, because you're not gonna, it's gonna sound very rehearsed if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, especially in different situations. Try as much as possible to have different variations. Keep the key elements of that pitch together and keep them intact and use it all the time, but you can have different variations. You can start it differently. I would generally say, if I was interviewing for, let's say, a life coaching role, I would say I'm very passionate about continuous learning. With my skills as an educator and as a life coach, I will be choosing, or I will be implementing programs to effect changes in your organization. Identify that students, I can craft anything. If for me, I need to just identify what the position is, which is your very first objective. Identify what the objective is and your target position. Now, you then need to explain what problem you're going to be resolving in that organization, what skills you have that would help you resolve it. If you have experiences from the past and you have results from that experience, you need to say those things. I said that eight at the beginning of this hangout, that you can do it in different ways. Choose something that is natural to you. I always tell people, as much as people say, They like this person's elevator pitch. It might not sound original for you, so do something that is you, something that is just you, and you can um, deliver it anywhere, anytime. The rule of thumb is actually to leave your elevator pitch at 150 words per minute. Strive to do the pitch under 2 to 3 minutes if you can. If you feel that yours is very long, try and do it under 5 minutes. But it also depends on the organizations. I've got some people who would give you 2 minutes. I've got some people who give you 5 minutes. I've got some people who give you 7 minutes. It all depends. But like I said, do different variations and grow with it. I have an example here pulled up over the internet, and it's pretty simple. Now, the example is my company develops mobile applications that businesses use to train their staff remotely. That is the objective, and that's what he knows that he can do. Now, this means that senior managers can spend time on other important tasks. That means he's able to solve a problem. Now, unlike other similar companies, we visit each organization to find out exactly what people need. That is him identifying that that's the way in the past they've done it. That's his experience is bringing to the new company. This means that on average, 95% of our clients are happy with the first version of their app. Now he's referencing what he's done in the past in terms of results. And his engaging question is, so how does your organization handle the training of new people? Now, like I said, you can do it in several ways. Pick what is natural for you. This is what this young gentleman does in terms of his elevator pitch in his company. You can create yours. Identify what works for you. Like I said, identify your objective or your target or what the position is you're applying for. Identify the problem in the organization. Identify what skills you can use to solve those problems. If you have, you can also reference your past in terms of delivering results, and you can use it like this guy. He says on average 95% of our clients that he has results. Not everyone is going to have results, especially for young people who are starting a new job. You're not going to always have results, but identify your skills, your strengths. That's what you feel will work for you in delivering results. Okay, I think that's about it in terms of my tips for elevator pitch, and I hope that would help. Now, I also chose to do a little spiel, a little few tips in terms of your resume. I've called it "What's in Your Resume," and that is because we're talking about the elevator pitch. I also say this, and I don't even know where I got this from, but I've just used it over the years in terms of writing resumes for people. If you know you need help with resume, you can also contact me. That's fine. But my very first step in writing your resume or helping you write to develop a resume is to have a conversation with you. Now, my very first tip in terms of making your resume stand out is making use of your elevator pitch. Your elevator pitch could be a great addition as a career objective. You know the sections of your resume where you have career objective, your elevator pitch is really useful there. I know most people don't know how to do it. So if you do ever get through your elevator pitch, preferably use that in your career objective or your career summary or whatever it is. It's a really good tool there. For people who feel that they don't have work experience, you might have done some key projects at the university. Preferably do a summary of those projects and title that section key projects. Identify what the project was all about and the results. If you know you've done real life projects, the same applies for you. These are my few tips. Now, also try and create an internet presence, which means that you should be searchable. Start doing things on over the web or whatever it is, but try and make sure that whatever, if a company does a search for you, they can see only good stuff. So try as much as possible to focus on having a clean web presence. My last tip in terms of what's in your resume is inculcating your results from the disc. The disc is simply stands for dominance. The I is for influence. S is for steadiness, and the C is for conscientious. Identify which are your highest, and also do the Myers-Briggs in some shape or form. They'll also help you in identifying which job you should take when you have different options. I get a lot of people saying, I have 5 options of jobs, but I don't know which one to take. Now, if you really, really know yourself, the minute you walk into an office, you're able to identify that this job is mine, this is what I would like to do, this is not mine, it doesn't feel like me, it doesn't identify this is about my characteristics, so I'm going to decline this job. So as much as young people want to identify, find jobs and move forward in terms of their career, please, at this stage in your life, there are a lot of free web tools in the disc about the disc and the Myers-Briggs. Please do it. Do it for yourself. It will help you describe yourself in an interview. It will help you identify your strengths and weaknesses. It will help you develop as an individual. It will help you build your own confidence. And most importantly, it will help you make a decision when you are faced with so many options. Okay? That's my very, very best tip. Generically, I'm not going to give you any basic steps on how to write a resume, because there are myriads of ways of doing it. I've only given you my best tips in terms of how to make your resume different. Include your elevator pitch. When you sorted out what your elevator pitch is, you already know how to do your elevator pitch. Identify your objective, know your targets of the position, identify what the problem is and how you can help the problem with your skills and your experience. If you have results, share the results. Practice, you know, all that. Include that elevator pitch in your resume. No matter what you've done in your life, whether it is at school, whether in volunteer work, put have a key projects section in your resume. That is my tip. I've never seen, I rarely see people do that, but it's something I've used to make my own resume stand out. I also would say, and don't quote me on this, I also would say try and make your resume not as generic looking as most people's resume. For me, I have a template. I did a blue borderline or something. You can play around with it, find something that makes it looks unique. You can play around with your headings. I don't know, but it's not a rule that I'm going to set on stone. But like I said, include your elevator pitch, include key projects, incorporate your results from your disc or the Myers-Briggs tool. Try and make sure that whenever people search for you in the internet, there is something clean they can talk about. You can start having blogging if you can start blogging if you want to. You can start doing some online projects. There are different companies who have projects here and there you can choose to put your hands up for. And if another rule is, if you have links to results you've had in the past, even if it's basic results, if you have a link to that resource you've developed, please put that in your resume as well, so that people can see, okay, he's done so and so stuff, and he can also get recommendations from those things. I'm I'm sort of out of breath, and I want to check with everyone how everyone's going, hoping that I'm making some or giving you some tips. Like I always say in all my sessions, I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I'm only sharing from my experience and from my skill as a coach. So this would bring us to the next segment of the Hangouts, and it is what I call the quote of the day. And the quote of the day, we've got 3 quotes today, and it is, I have these quotes because I live by quotes, and secondly, I have these quotes because I feel that quotes are amazing tools to awaken our spirits most of the time. Now, my very first quote, I'm sure most of you have heard this 100 times, but I want you to spend time reminiscing about this or thinking about it along the week or during your the course of this week. Now it goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And it's a quote by Marianne Williamson. That's one of, I think it was said in the movie Coach Carter or something like that. I can't remember it, but it's a beautiful quote telling you that we all have fears, but I think the biggest fear is knowing that we can do anything, but we are not sure how to go about it. So I'm going to say that again. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Now, the second one is by Richard Grant. Richard Grant, it says the value of identity, of course, is that so often with that value comes purpose. And it's very important that as a young person, you focus on finding that identity, finding your voice, finding your spirit, not immersing yourself in what you're doing today because things can slip. Once you know your identity, you sort of know your purpose. I don't know how many of you understand what I'm saying, but once you spend time finding who you are, you're not afraid because things might not go exactly the way you planned them, but there's still purpose for you. Now, perhaps the next one is perhaps the best brand you can wear is your own identity. Be unique and be yourself. Um, I'm very often I tell people that I don't know everything, and I'm happy to say that because if I knew everything, and this is what I tell my students, if I knew everything, I probably will be Bill Gates and be the richest man in the world. And I believe people who are successful embrace learning and continuous growth. I don't have all the answers to all the questions. I only believe that with Students of Future, we can create a hub where we can start having interactions and developing ourselves. And this could be a big thing. It could be a small thing, but as my own purpose is how can I affect change one individual at a time? I'm not focusing on touching the whole world. If I do that, I'll be really appreciative. I just want to understand that one person who's approached me and I gave him one advice. I just had one encounter with that person and it's helped them move forward. It seems like I'm slurring my words today, and yeah, it could be the weather, but all the same, I'm going to keep going because no one's perfect. All right. I think we've had a quick recap of what we did last week and the week before. And today we focused on introduction, identifying that there's a difference between the personal introduction and um, elevator pitch. I always say that the elevator pitch is a selling tool. Use it to sell. Use it to get what you want in terms of your career, in terms of a job interview. The personal introduction, keep it simple. You can keep it simple. If someone asks what you do, you can tell them what you do. Preferably, do not get yourself so stuck in who you are in terms of your profession. Basically, because from my experience, people lose themselves when those professions go. You are you without your profession. Who are you without your profession? Who are you without the degrees? Who are you without um, all the accolades? You should focus on how am I growing? How am I learning? How am I contributing? I always say that I feel everyone should adopt the principle that their purpose in life is to love, learn, give, and grow. And that's it. Every other thing is secondary. That's my opinion. You don't necessarily have to believe that, but that is my opinion. All right. I reckon that's all I have to offer today. But I'm gonna end by saying that I still need your feedback, and feedback for me is gold. Like I can't stress that. Thank you to all those who have been giving me great feedback. Thank you to the constructive ones too. I like I say, you're not necessarily gonna like all the feedback. And like I said at the beginning, I will take them on board, and what I can do, I will do. At some point, maybe we're going to have music before this starts. I don't know how to do that. If you know how to do that, I would really like your help. All I'm doing right now is sharing and growing and hoping that I can look back, or we can look back over the course of a year or two and say, oh, this is how we started. We started really crappy, but now we have high def cameras. Now we have nice conversations. Now we have people coming on. I can see we have 3 videos. We're going from 4 to 3 to 4 to 3. That's fine. For me, this is going to be on YouTube. You can share with your friends. And I still appreciate all the feedback. So feedback is good. Please keep sending your feedback. Remember to send, you can also send your feedback to info@w2lconsulting.com. That's the parent company for Students of Future, and that's a bigger project. But right now, the focus is on the Students of Future network. I still have my special requests asking for people's assistance in terms of social media, in terms of planning these events, in terms of someone actually wanting to host this hangout sometime in the future. That would be so appreciated. I would love that. And yeah, um, I have a special announcement for La Trobe University students. I've decided to do a group coaching session, and we're looking at doing it on Thursdays at 5 p.m. If you're a La Trobe student listening and you want to be part of this session, just let us know over the Facebook group page. We'll be looking at running it from 5 to 6 or from 6 to 7. I don't know. Whatever we all agree, we're going to put it together. I'm looking forward to that because it's an opportunity for people to come together. I've had one or two people who've registered interest, and I'm looking for, I would love to have 5 to 10 students in a class. Now, I consider myself a student, so don't look at me like, oh, okay, he works here. Let's focus on what do we need to do to move forward. Let's see how we can grow and develop. So La Trobe students, yes, there'll be group coaching sessions starting, and I'm looking forward to those people who are interested. We're going to be booking a really nice library stall or booth, and we're going to have conversations there. It's an opportunity to start your personal development, to build skills outside university. The university is great in terms of your curriculum and academics, in terms of knowing what you should do, but what else? What other skills can you develop as an individual? There are little places. There's little or no place in the university where other things are taught, except you are very curious. La Trobe is one of the best universities in terms of promoting mentoring and all that, but we still have a lot of work to do. So I'm hoping I can start talking to a group of students who want to start having conversations and growing themselves. The purpose of this is just to create that connectedness and where you can share your ideas and help other people, and create that safe space where we can all develop ideas and move forward. I've got two resources for growth this week, and I'm gonna, for those people who like to read, I'm gonna urge you to read The 4 Hour Work Week. Is by Tim Ferriss, and Awaken the Giant Within is one of the books I recommend to most of my clients, and I tell them that it's a really good book. Awaken that Giant Within You, and it's a book by Anthony Robbins, and I would say that those two books are really good. A 4 hour work week is pretty intense, but is in your face. Also, the Awaken the Giant Within is a bit mild, but it has a lot of wisdom in it as well. So I urge you to read those books. Our next hangout on air is going to be in the next fortnight, and I'm looking at, it's going to be on the 16th of August. Now, before I announce what my suggested topic would be for the next hangout, I would like to see what other topics you guys would like us to discuss. I don't want to make this about what I think you should do, what I think we should discuss. I want it to be about, okay, let's discuss this. Like this was a good session because someone has said, oh, let's look at the elevator pitch, let's look at how to introduce each other. And I'm hoping that it was as useful as you thought it would be. So I would like you to start sending your topics, whatever you feel that we should discuss, whatever you feel that even if you want to discuss it one-on-one, or we can discuss it over a Facebook group, that would be great. So My next topic is going to be the power of visualization. And I'm going to be asking the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, this is a very common question you get in interviews, and I'm not going to be doing it from an interview point of view. I'm going to be doing it from a design your own life point of view. Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to go with your life? Because visualization is very, very, very key to success. If you cannot envision where you want to be, you're probably going to go every place you don't want to be. Okay. And the nuggets for success in terms of professional development will be: networking can be easy. We're going to be talking about how to go about a networking event. If you walk into a networking event, what should you do? What should you not be doing? I'll just share with you my tips. The way I want to structure professional development in this Hangout is just giving you tips. I don't want to be telling you, do this, do this. I'll just give you my tips, what's worked for me. If you have something that's worked for you, you can always send it to us and share with us. I'll only share with you what's worked for me. I had a student of mine who attended a networking event recently and sent me an email quickly. What do I do? How should I go about it? I just wrote out an email telling him basically what he should do. And I feel it was a huge success. He's made a lot of contacts now. He's growing his LinkedIn contacts as well. I would only be sharing my tips, and if you feel that there's some tips you want to share with other people, please do us a favor and share on Facebook. The Facebook group is there for everyone to share. Yes, I will be approving it, but I would love that you share as well. And just a reminder that you can continue to invite your friends. Welcome to everyone who's joined us over the course of the week. And at some point, we're going to have a structure where we're going to be doing formal invites to everyone who's joined. At this stage, it's a lot to handle. And that's why I keep asking for help and support from people who can help me do things in terms of organization and invites and all that. But thank you for joining us all the same. I hope this will be a great opportunity for you to network and grow. I also hope that you can also teach us what you know to help us make this a network. This is not a network for myself, it's a network to connect people and focus on learning and growing. You can join the Facebook group at Students of Future Network. It's if you go to Facebook groups and type in Students of Future Network, it'll come up. Then you can you can request to join it. You can like our page, the W2L Consulting page. You can do that as well. I also urge that you engage by commenting on posts. You can ask a question and get people to respond. You can share your ideas for success, your challenges. You can share that as well. There's always someone who knows something about something. That's just the way I reason. I feel that once you start asking the right question, the right quality questions, I'm going to stress that quality questions, you're able to find the right answers. Post relevant resources that are going to help. If you find an event that you feel all students should be attending, let us know. I ran into someone who says there's a networking event in NAP coming up soon. I'm going to get um, the information. I'll post it up there. And those people who feel like they want to attend the networking event, please go ahead and tell us what you learn and how you face that challenge. You can continue to view our YouTube channel and share with your friends as well. To that effect, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us again today, and please stay connected with us in whatever shape or form. Facebook, email, connecting on Facebook, whatever it is, whatever works for you. We would like to stay connected with you. I hope Students of Future would be a tool or a resource to help you develop and move forward, as it is helping me move forward. Like I say to my students, this is one of the hardest things to do is talking to a computer or talking to a camera, but it's something I'm embracing, and hopefully I'll get really good at it. I apologize if I sounded a bit rough or a bit not smiley, whatever it is, but I really enjoy doing this, and I'm going to keep giving it a try until I perfect it. If you have any feedback, let us know as soon as possible. Right now, I'm going to just let the slides run through. I'm going to run through the slides, and I hope to catch up next with you on the 16th of September. Oh no, August rather. We're in August. Happy August for those people who started August. And yeah, speak to you soon. Thank you again, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you again. See you next time.